Hello, everybody. Welcome to another show, the Canberra Football Show, episode 65. And no show last week. Sorry for that. I was off in Melbourne, and Michael was away also. So logistically, it wouldn't have worked out. So thanks for bearing with us for not having your reviews for a week. We are back this week though with quite a lot. We've had two league winners. One of them re-won the title, which I'll get into soon. And one team was, in terms of NPLW anyway, Canberra, Croatia made to wait. That might be coming down to the wire. We'll get into everything with that with Jeremy Magan. Webby should be joining us as well for CPL. So, Michael, it's all happening this week. How's it going?
Yeah, it is happening this week, mate. You're certainly right about that, and I'm good. It's a lot of sort of really good results over the weekend. Obviously, we've seen some triumphs in terms of celebrations of silverware of some kind, and there's some big other results as well across the three other competitions that we'll get into shortly as well. But another great weekend of football festivities. So let's get into it.
Indeed. Let's start with Belconnen United, Canberra, Croatia, out at McKellar Park. Max Green and Dominici with the goals in this one. Heading into this one, the main story, literally just breaking that morning, was that Canberra, Croatia needed a draw to reclaim the league title that they won a week prior. Canberra, Croatia were deducted 3 points due to unsavory fan behaviour and abuse. And it was announced that on the Capital Football website. So we won't dwell on that too much. Canberra, Croatia ended up winning the league again. So Belconnen United opened the score in the 26th minute as Dustin Wells made a run and put in a fantastic through ball to Max Green, who ran in behind and hit it first time, I believe, over Sam Brown to take the lead. So Belco made one hell of a start to this one. Despite the great start, 2 minutes later, they had a player sent off as Christian Kreskis charged in for a tackle. It seemed initially that the ref sort of played it on, but when the player didn't get up, he had a chat to the linesman, and Christian Kreskis was given a straight red card. Canberra, Croatia equalised after forcing an error in the box in stoppage time of the first half. Like I said, just before half time, Stephen Dominici converted from the spot kick, and in hindsight, that would be the goal that re-won them their 25th league title with 2 matches remaining after this one. Belco, like we said, started well. They did well to keep a draw despite being down to 10 men. Against Canberra, Croatia with, 60 plus minutes left of the matchup. Unfortunately for them, though, a draw does not keep them safely in 7th spot, as they lost that this week to West Canberra Wanderers, who got a victory over Monaro, which means that Belco now are in last place and trailing the Wanderers by 1 point with 2 games to play. So, like we've been saying the last couple of weeks, these results doesn't mean this is how it'll end at the end of the season, but with only 2 matches remaining, it is all to play for between those two sides. And I think they're only like 3 points off Tigers as well. So with it all to play for in the last couple of matches for everybody, and Belco end up back in 8th, where they only spent 1 week, let's not forget, there a couple of weeks ago. So can they do it again next week? We'll have to wait and see. It's all to play for. And big times for all those sort of fighting for that relegation spot. And congratulations as well to Canberra, Croatia. Like we said just then, 25th league title. Quite a list of accolades there. Obviously, they'll want to keep building momentum in these last 2 matches for finals, and a well-deserved victory as well for the league. They have been the standard bearer of the league this season. What I mean the standard bearers, they've only lost 1 game this season. 1-14 drawn 4. Besides that, in terms of the least amount of losses, Monaro have lost 3, and Gungahlin is next with 5. So, quite a high standard as well from Dean Ugranich's side. And they've had some absolutely terrific performances this season. So well done to Canberra, Croatia.
Congratulations to them. They've been sensational. Matt, like you said, they've been good from start to finish. And nothing but big ups to them, and just want to extend my congratulations also. They've been fantastic this season. Next up, we had Tigers FC and Canberra Olympic play out a really sort of entertaining draw, Matt, on the weekend. Obviously, all 4 of these goals came inside the first 45 minutes of play.
And crackers as well, mate.
Yeah. Oh, some absolute beauties. And, it was absolutely sensational. I mean, all the 4 goals came inside the first half. None in the second half, but I mean, just what a game of football this one was. And, it all got started with, a great left-footed curling shot from Josh Golevsky to give Tigers the lead after some reasonably good sort of build-up play that helped sort of get the ball from one side to the other out on the right where he was. And he sort of just, got his inset wrapped around the ball, and you could see the ball sort of just like curve straight into that far corner. So it was a very nice goal to give Tigers the lead. That didn't last too long though, as Ihegi, made it 1-1. And, I think it was obviously the response that Olympic were looking for after going behind. And I think in that moment that he scored, it showed a really good sort of striker's instinct to take a quick touch when the ball found him in the box. And then he sort of just unleashed a quick shot that launched into the top corner of the goal. So that made it 1-1. And from that moment, Olympic then sort of carried that momentum very quickly and scored just 2 minutes later through James, who produced an absolutely sensational goal, Matt. This one was an absolute screamer. A left-footed strike into the top corner from way, way out of the box. The keeper had absolutely no chance of stopping a strike of that quality and pace. It was an absolutely fantastic goal, and definitely one of the goals of the season, I'd say, most definitely. But even though Olympic did go 2-1 down, even though Tigers went down 2-1, they did well to sort of regather themselves, build a bit of composure, and it's always hard to try and grapple that back after conceding 2 goals in the space of 2 minutes. But that's exactly what happened in terms of them just building on that composure to work the ball up forward. And that's how they were able to get their equaliser 4 minutes before halftime through Kofi Danning, the former Olympic player himself. Another sort of goal that was well taken from a striker, just having that instinct that I was just talking about with Ihegi. He was just inside the box. There seemed to be a crowd of Olympic players in there ready to deal with the ball that sort of got fizzled back across goal. But Danning was just at the right place at the right time to steer the ball into the goal and make it 2-2. So I think Olympic might be a little bit disappointed they weren't able to get to read the danger in that sense of where the ball was probably going to end up, which was at Danning's feet to score. And he finished confidently, and that was 2-2. And obviously there was no goals to separate the two sides in the second half. Still obviously a very close and contested match, but they couldn't be separated in the end. And Olympic, what this means for them is they maintain their position in 4th place. Matt, they're 2 points above O'Connor Knights. So a real tight race for that 4th spot. And Tigers are obviously still in 6th place, and they just find themselves only 3 points above the relegation zone. So they'll still be feeling the heat somewhat, Matt, but obviously there's still a few more rounds of football to go, so we don't know what's going to happen over the next remaining weeks. What's our next matchup?
And if I'm not mistaken as well, I think mathematically, Olympic have had that really good spot. Mathematically, they can't get relegated. Canberra Olympic as well, so they've had a really good couple of weeks with those catch-up matches, and now they're, like you said, in the top 4. What a difference a couple of weeks makes for Canberra Olympic.
Huge.
Next up, their O'Connor neighbours, O'Connor Knights, against Gungahlin United. Russ and I were calling this one at O'Connor enclosed. Gungahlin opened the scoring to make it 1-0 as a free kick from Jeremy Habtemarian was put in the box, and then an attempted clearance from the O'Connor defence fell to Jack Green. After retrieving the ball, the gunner skipper turned his closest marker, dribbled between a few players, going the long way around, and placed it at the far post. Great goal from Jack Green there to open the scoring. Gungahlin extended their lead after Mishko Namoshki put a ball into Will Roberts, who was able to control a high ball, then turned it around and buried it past Jack Miller. And if you haven't seen this one, go back and watch it. It was not an easy ball to control. So the youngster Will Roberts did very, very well there with a clinical finish to make it 2-0. Mishko Namoshki made it 3-0 with an absolutely stunning free kick. Absolutely curling free kick, high and then dip for that near right post, just under the crossbar. Add that to the annals of cracking free kicks we've had so far this season. O'Connor grabbed one back in the second half to make it 3-1 from Connor after Connor Minot-Smith placed a really good corner for Riley Angelo Santi. Scoring against his old club, of course, which Russ literally just said, oh, well, it's bound to happen, right, isn't it? Everyone's been scoring against their old clubs in literally the first game against them so far this season. Not long after this, O'Connor had a chance to make it 3-2 after Connor Minot-Smith hit it over the bar. Gungahlin took advantage of their next chance in the box as Jeremy Habtemarian was brought down in the box. Habtemarian stepped up from the spot kick to make it 4-1 and cancelled out the momentum that O'Connor was starting to grow at that time. Overall, very, very good performance from Gungahlin, especially in the first half where I thought they were firmly in control of the matchup. This victory puts them above Monaro again in second place, 7 points off Canberra, Croatia. However, they will be unable to catch the league leaders as there are only 2 matches remaining. So now, and if Canberra Croatia didn't get a draw, then Gungahlin would still technically be in the race. But like we said, 7 points off with 2 matches remaining, unable to do it. So now it's all about building momentum for Gungahlin in terms of finals, building those momentum in terms of finals. O'Connor had a really good second half. I thought they were starting to build some momentum, and it's one of those what ifs. If they finish that chance to make it 3-2, this was before obviously Gungahlin got that extra goal. It could have been a different game. They could have built momentum, even more momentum off that. Wasn't meant to be though. Gungahlin were able to see out the victory and sort of squash the O'Connor momentum with that 4th goal. This loss means that the Knights are now 2 points off 4th place Olympic with 2 matches remaining in the season. So heaps to play for in terms of O'Connor as they look to make the top 4 in their first season back in the top flight of football. Michael, what was the last match of the round?
Last match of the round, Matt, was a bit of a, you could say maybe a bit of a shock result. But I mean, what a result it was for West Canberra Wanderers that you briefly touched on earlier in the show, Matt. It was West Canberra 1, Monaro Panthers 0. Away from home, West Canberra do it with, minutes to spare towards the end of the match. It's a huge victory for them, against Monaro, courtesy of, a late goal that they were able to score in the 88th minute through Suruti. And I think it could obviously prove huge for them in terms of West Canberra escaping relegation this season. And just going off Surtees' goal, he sort of picked up the ball in a little bit of pocket of space just outside the box. He just had enough time to sort of get his head up and see where the goal was, produce the shot. I think it took a little bit of a deflection on its way to the goal, but at the end of the day, Matt, it ended up in the back of the net, and sometimes luck just goes your way in that instance. And, it proved to be the difference maker in the matchup, and you could see how much it meant to the West Canberra players as well when they were celebrating there in the corner. It just looked as though that Monaro sort of really couldn't get themselves going in this match, Matt. So I think it's just one of those games that sometimes happens to the good teams in the competition. Sometimes it's just not your day, and things aren't sticking and gelling as well as they normally would. But we all know what Monaro are capable of, in terms of on a more consistent basis. So I have no doubt that they'll sort of be raring to go next week. And, but at the same time, you have to give credit to West Canberra, who fought extremely hard, and they accomplished what they set out to do going into this match, coming up, like I said, against a team that has been in really good form for most of this season. They obviously find themselves in the top 4 in Monaro, but it's a huge result for West Canberra Wanderers, and it's going to do them a world of good. And it's going to put pressure on those teams in and around them as well in that relegation sort of dogfight, and sort of just leading on into that now. West Canberra Wanderers, they now sit 7th on the ladder, Matt. Like you said, they're 1 point ahead of Belco, who now find themselves rooted to the bottom of the table, and Monaro still sit in 3rd place by 9 points. So, I mean, their 3rd spot isn't really in jeopardy. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, maybe the result wasn't too much of an impact. If I can put it in those sort of words, they've still got a comfortable cushion there in 3rd spot. So they'll be fine in terms of, staking obviously their claim in the top 4, but it's a huge result for West Canberra, and they've just got to keep pushing now, because it's going to come right to the absolute wire. It's going to come down to, the last probably kick of, the game of the last round of the season. So everyone's just got to keep their eyes on it, because it's going to be an absolutely fantastic finish to the end of the season.
And I think it's also worth mentioning as well, in terms of West Canberra, that they always usually show up against Monaro this season. I remember it was the last home match Monaro had, it was a penalty in the last 5 minutes to beat West Canberra last time round. And then also, of course, that final where West Canberra had the victory until literally the dying second of the match. So West Canberra always show up for this Monaro match. And like you said, West Canberra winning as well makes an even more sort of exciting end to the season. Only 1 point between them and Belconnen still with that last spot. Tigers are 3 points off Belconnen. So we've got, anything can really happen in these last couple of matches. Let's go through the matches for the second last round of the season, with it all to play for in a few of these matches. West Canberra Wanderers versus Gungahlin United, Saturday, September 3rd, 2:15 p.m. at Melrose Synthetic. Belconnen United versus Tigers FC, Saturday, September 3rd, 3 p.m. at McKellar Park. O'Connor Knights versus Canberra Croatia, the Croatian derby, and also what Russ calls the Travapi derby, Saturday, September 3rd, 3 p.m. at O'Connor Enclosed. And then Monaro Panthers versus Canberra Olympics, Saturday, September 3rd, 5:45 p.m. at Riverside. So quite a lot to play for there. Hello, everybody. Welcome to NPLW segment of the show. Welcoming back Jeremy Magan. Jeremy, it's been a while. How you been, mate? Obviously a bit sick, but yeah.
Yeah, I've been good. Yeah, I've missed a few, haven't I? Yeah, glad to be back. Glad to be back on the fields as well this weekend, and happy to be here with you, Matt. Thanks for having me again.
Always a pleasure. Let's get straight into the action. Canberra United Academy 3-1 victory over Wagga City Wanderers. Very good win for CUA away from home. Wagga made a positive start to the encounter by scoring the first goal of the game thanks to Megan Castle. CUA wasted little to no time to get back into it themselves, into the contest, following with Barbour finding the back of the net to make it 1-1. Christopherson then scored a nice goal into an empty net to give CUA the first lead of the matchup to make it 2-1. Reith Mueller put the icing on the cake for the visitors after she produced an absolute peach of a strike from a long way out to make it 3-1 and cement the 3 points for her side. Jeremy, what did you make of this contest?
Yeah, a good contest. I mean, it was the one game over the weekend that I guess didn't have anything that mattered too much on the table in it. 6 against 8, but I think what's important is that Canberra United Academy finally put her out on that losing streak. They hadn't won until since they played Tuggeranong in that postponed games, and so it was good for, I think, the young team to find a way to get back into the win. And Wagga City is who they are, and the goal came in short. They got surprised quickly, and then Canberra United Academy showed the power that they have and the technique that they have. It was good to see the girls getting a run, really, and seeing a few players that we haven't seen too much of playing on and having a start. Alisa Barbour scoring was nice. Christopherson is just second game back after the injury. Good to see her back on the score sheet as well. But yeah, it was a bit of the game that I've watched, thinking, I'm wondering how much what's going on in the locker room at that stage with those two teams, like, unfortunately not playing for anything anymore except trying to get as many points as possible, like versus all the other three games that were a bit more tense. That was a bit of the friendly one of the weekend.
And next up, Canberra Olympic 2-0 over West Canberra Wanderers. Olympics opened the scoring at the start of the second half after Michaela Thornton put in a cross for the pass far post, which found Ashley Sykes stretched out a leg to get on the end of it to make that 1-0. Olympic made it 2-0 with a terrific counter-attack 10 minutes from full time, as Ash Sykes did a crisp 1-2 with Meg Roden and finished with her trademark pacey run into the box and buried it past the keeper. Important victory for Olympic after the last-minute loss to Croatia last week, as well as considering Croatia lost to Belconnen this weekend. Olympic remain in second place, 5 points behind the league leaders, but also have a match in hand, which will be played midweek. So with a possibility of making it a 2-point gap in the midweek with their catch-up, there's still hope for Olympic in the race. And again, that might put some pressure as well on Canberra, Croatia, when they play their next matchup. West Canberra have been on a good run of form with 2 wins consecutively. And after, what's important, of course, of those two is they navigated that rough patch of form. This loss means they are 3 points behind Gungahlin United, though, but they do have a match in hand. So if they can accumulate at least 4 points in the next 2 matches, they should be able to clinch finals football with the last match of the season. And also a milestone, Tara Cannon playing her 50th NPLW matchup. Congratulations to her. A great achievement there. Jeremy, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, a lot in this game. The Wanderers, of course, 3 points ahead of Gungahlin. And so, yeah, those 4 points would be enough for them to get there and playing against Wagga City. I mean, we've seen last week that you can't discount the teams that are at the bottom of the table, but technically that should give them 3 points, and then they can hope that Olympic and Canberra Croatia are going to do the job by not letting Gungahlin win both games. But anyway, there was a lot in this game, of course, because the points were very important. I think Olympic, kind of can rue that last second goal from Sawkins that they conceded against Canberra Croatia, because if they hadn't, they'd be much closer right now, and they could make it a real battle, almost with fate in their hand for the title. The game itself this weekend between Olympic and the Wanderers, KG, the first half, I mean, we know how the Wanderers play. I guess I'm always, I don't know if surprise is the word. Like I'm a neutral. I like to watch it, but I always enjoy seeing them basically nullifying the other attacks. There was not a lot of shots on target for Olympic up until halftime. There was not a lot of opportunities really to bother Ali Hinson. And in the second half, when finally they make it to put that defense in balance, they score, and then Ali Hinson had to do a few saves, and she did it well. So it's good to see that the Wanderers can do it. I think we've said it before, and I'll say it again. Olympic is definitely not helped when they play home on O'Connor. The style of football that this team plays is definitely not helped by a pitch that's so bubbly. So it was probably to their deter that they had to host that game, and eventually they can count on the talent that they have in their ranks. And Ash Sykes, the first goal, the second goal, she just did the job. She tried to give a couple of assists as well to not keep it all to herself. But it's an important win for Nicole Begg. I think, it's the team that they might face at one point in postseason, depending on how things go. So it's that psychological advantage. And it's also, again, that pressure put on the reigning champions, who are, making a few mistakes this week. So with the game in hand that they're playing against Tuggeranong on Wednesday, they can get closer. They're playing two not easy games to finish, but yeah, it's good to see that they decided to make the end of the season a little bit tighter for us.
And the team they're playing midweek also played on the weekend against Gungahlin United. Gungahlin United came out 6-1 winners over Tuggeranong United. There were a few milestones in this one as well. Sammy Ems played her 50th NPLW match, and Piper Lockley also played her 50th NPLW match. Congratulations to them both. A great achievement there. Regarding the match, Michelle Heyman showcased why she is one of the most celebrated strikers in NPLW with a hat trick, and she assisted that blitzing start from Gungahlin United, scoring 2 of the opening 4 goals. Percival and McGlashan rounded out those 4 goals, and Sharon Chow rounded off that first half with Gungahlin scoring 5 goals in the first stanza, as Russ likes to call it. There were less goals in the second half, as it was a draw technically in that one, with Tuggies getting a goal back through Sini, and then 6 minutes later, Michelle Heyman rounded off her hat trick. It should be mentioned as well, in midweek, Tuggies, which was a credit to them, got a draw against Canberra, Croatia, which, as we know, is very tough to do. They've only just lost a game this weekend, let alone drawn a lot of matches this season. So credit to Paolo Romero's side there, and credit to the Gunners as well, as they're now only 3 points behind West Canberra Wanderers. West Canberra do still have a match in hand to play, and once again, Andrew Woodman's side off to really good form, and this side has really turned around their form while Andrew Woodman has been in charge, haven't they, Jeremy?
Yeah, they have. They are trying to get to that top 4. They're only 3 points behind the Wanderers. We mentioned it. The Wanderers do have that game in hand, so it's going to be hard for Gungahlin, especially when the last 2 games are Olympic and Croatia. So there's not going to be an easy calendar for them. But they are turning up when it's a bit too late, but they're turning up. Michelle Heyman did what she does best. She knows that she's able to dribble past most defenses in this competition. She's the talent that she is. But she was, very she focused and she was applied at the end, and she knew how to find the back of the net. That goal from Maddie Percival, if you're listening, well done, Maddie. We've seen you score a few goals, but a goal like this where she drives through basically half of the defense, even though no one really is trying to stop her, and then she decides to shoot from the outside of the box, was magnificent. What we saw, though, clearly is the amount of energy that was spent on Thursday for Tuggeranong, the hard work that they had to put to be able to get that 1 point against Canberra, Croatia. The stats were like 20 shot to 2 or something like that. Sammy Ems was excellent, and so was the whole team in their pressure and in their dense defense. We saw that it was hard to keep it and to keep doing it 3 days later against Gungahlin. I'm assuming there was barely a training between the two, maybe just a bit of a catch up to try and make sure the motivation stays up. But yeah, the fact that Gungahlin was able to do what Canberra, Croatia failed to, which is scoring early and scoring more than 1 early, made it a bit hard for the Gunners. They didn't stop working. They didn't stop playing the way they play in the second half. They do 1-1 eventually in the second half. They do score a nice goal. They had a few opportunities like this where a player might be forgotten into the box, which might be one of the worries that Andrew Woodman needs to look at. But in the end, Gungahlin a bit too much for Tuggeranong. Again, that makes it nice to finish. That means that Olympic is not going to finish freewheeling, neither will Canberra, Croatia, because Gungahlin will want to try and get a win against those both teams. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Michelle Heyman playing against the 2 best teams of the competition to finish the season.
Definitely ones to look out for there. And another match that was can't miss on the weekend, Canberra, Croatia losing their first match of the season, 2-1 to Belconnen United. Belco opened the scoring as Olivia Bomford dinked a very, very nice ball over the top of the Croatian defense. Meanwhile, Nat Vasta seemed to sort of half come out and then half back off, then tried to go forward again. However, by that point, Olivia Backhouse hit it first time and nicely placed it in the back of the net. heading into halftime, Belconnen was set up incredibly well from Scott Conlon, as we have witnessed over the last few matches that Belco have played against the likes of Olympic and Canberra, Croatia. Belco probably had the best chance as well after the goal in that first half. Riley Ewan just hitting it wide. Croatia's best chance in the first half came probably from Britt Palombi. However, Croatia seemed pretty frustrated at a well-organised and very quick breaking Belco side in that first half. Croatia equalised in the 62nd minute as Jamie Berkeley whipped in a pitch-perfect cross to the head of Krista Hagen, who headed it with such precision to make it 1-1. Belco disrupted Canberra Croatia's momentum once again by striking back in the lead after Olivia Bomford's cross found Sophia Poliwoda with a bullet of a header again to make it 2-1. Big victory for Belco as they became the only team to defeat Canberra Croatia in the league this season. A very astute performance from Scott Conlon's side. And they are well and truly solidified in third place, 13 points above fourth place West Canberra Wanderers. In terms of form over the last week, Canberra Croatia dropped 5 points from a possible 6 with the draw to Tuggies midweek, as we just mentioned there, and this loss to Belconnen. In saying that, though, to go this long into the campaign without being defeated once again is a testament to Zoran Glavinić's side. But there were challenges in this matchup that were raised that I'm sure that they will be looking to rectify before the finals. They still remain in first place, 5 points above Olympic, but they have one match in hand as well. So the league title will still be up for grabs. It will be all to play for in the last couple of matches of the season. And in terms of achievements, Samantha Price played her 100th NPLW match. So congratulations to her. There was a lot in this one, Jeremy. You were there calling it with Russ. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, great game. I mean, we did both Canberra Croatia this week with Russ, and we were both surprised. We can see that both ways. Both Tuggeranong and Belconnen have shown blueprint to, this is how you can bet Canberra Croatia, the high press, the dense defense, nullifying that midfield that we know has made so much damage all season. At the end of the day, though, the reason Canberra Croatia doesn't win is because Canberra Croatia doesn't play how they are supposed to play and how we used to see them play. They are their own worst enemy, and I think it's clear, and I'm sure all the players of the reigning champion squad will think the same thing. It's goals that are avoidable. That second goal on the corner, it's a near post. It should be a player or the keeper getting there before Sofia Paliwoda. I mean, no offense, it's a great header by Sofia, but she's not the tallest player in the pitch, and she has no right to be here by herself, a meter away from the goal line and heading it in. And we've seen Croatia playing a little bit better when Jenny Bissett comes back in. She was missing for a while. Before that, it was Krista Hagen, who's back from injury. There was a few injuries this season for Canberra Croatia, and eventually, I guess it had to give in. If you're Canberra Croatia, you'd rather drop the points now. And seeing that whole rethinking yourself and almost being frustrated and upset at yourself for not getting points right now, that it doesn't matter and that fate is still in your hand, and then bouncing back better to finish the season. But all that said, Belconnen was impressive. The game plan was there. The press was great. It was high press, but it was high press without going ever onto the two center backs, just waiting for them to release the ball. And as soon as the ball was released, you would see, Kira Bobbin and Riley Ewan and Olivia Bonfort, their backers, just speeding onto whoever was going to get the ball next. So it was just well done. And I think, again, something that now the other teams know that Belconnen can do. So they're probably going to be ready for it a little bit more. But it was impressive. Belconnen, if they're up 3-0 at halftime, no one would say anything because they had so many opportunities. So it was a lot of learnings during that game for both coaches, I'm sure. Canberra Croatia, it's a disappointing week, and I think it's a disappointing week for the players and for Zoran as well. They're going to have a little bit of time to think it through and rectify. I said before the game I wouldn't like to be Belconnen United facing Canberra Croatia just after they drew against Tuggeranong. Well, I'll say it again. I wouldn't like to be the Wagga City Wanderers playing Canberra, Croatia after they've dropped 5 points in 2 games, because they probably will come back with a vengeance. So we'll see how it does. Again, from a neutral point of view, it's awesome. It gives us an amazing end of season. It makes everything tight everywhere. Olympic, at the end of the day, if they don't win their last few games, well, Belconnen can knock on the door. So it's everywhere. It's going to be a little bit tight, and there's going to be a lot to see in those last couple of games. This was what you would expect to see from a finals game. So it was great to see a bit of a preview of what the last 3 games of the season will be.
Certainly was a terrific game. Regarding the matches this weekend, it looks like from Dribble there was a reschedule of the Wanderers, the Battle of the Wanderers over at Wagga. So as it stands on Dribble, Saturday, September 3rd, 12 p.m. at Rawlings Park in Wagga. The Wagga City Wanderers will host West Canberra Wanderers. This next match is TBD, depending on the availability of the Wanderers the next day. But Wagga City Wanderers will play Belconnen United Sunday, September 4th, 2:30 p.m. at Gissing Oval. Gungahlin United against Canberra Olympic Sunday, September 4th, 3 p.m. at Gungahlin Enclosed. Canberra United Academy versus Tuggeranong United Sunday, September 4th, 5:10 p.m. at Hawker Football Centre. And we believe the Croatia and West Canberra one won't be taking place on Sunday, but Dribble doesn't say so yet. So I guess take everything with a pinch of salt. Jeremy, any matches there that stand out to you the most?
Well, Russ will be there for Gungahlin United against Canberra Olympic, and I think that's definitely the game of the weekend, because there'll be a lot at play there. I'll be commentating the later game, the Academy against Tuggeranong, for a little bit of a chill end of Sunday, and watch some good football on Hawker over there after probably what would be a busy day at work with Father's Day. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that game that I won't be able to see until after I commented mine between Gungahlin and Olympic, and of course whenever it's played, the Wanderers against Canberra, Croatia will be definitely something that we want to watch.
It certainly will. Any last words before we head off, Jeremy? And thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. And look, I'm actually looking forward to the game on Wednesday night. Can Tuggeranong be a problem for both the top 2 teams 2 weeks in a row? I think it's a good challenge, and I think Paulo Romero and his team will definitely try and be an issue for Olympic.
And back with our CPL segment, joining us is Chris Webb. Webby, thanks for joining us again. It's been a while. We're happy to have you back.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Before we get into CPL, where we have crowned league champion, let's go to State League quickly. Webby, can you please give us your State League wrap-up? State League 1, of course.
Look, there were some very interesting things that happened in State League in the end. As we kind of last talked about it, we really talked about a Weston and Gungahlin Juventus race with kind of ANU lurking in the shadows, and then that kind of UC and Bell North really being the big 5 teams that kind of really battling it out for the top 4. Probably since we last, I think I may have mentioned it, but I can't remember, since we last talked. There was quite the controversy, and I probably will not go into it in too much depth. But again, ANU and who's at fault here, Capital Football slightly. ANU hosted both Weston and Gungahlin Juventus, both times without referees, both times with ANU providing their own referees. And look, all I'll say is there was a lot of controversy around both of the games, but in the end, ANU came out with the 3 points on paper with both games, and that was enough to see them actually take the league championship. It actually came down to the last game. Weston was still ahead of ANU by 1 goal on goal difference, but Weston came up against 5th place Bell North, who needed to win to get into 4th spot. And ANU were playing against the other ANU team, who were a lot lower down on the table. And it was actually quite an interesting game. ANU were losing that game with about 10 minutes to go, and it turned it around and won 3-1. But Weston, so all Weston needed was 1-0 win, I think, would have got them through. But they lost. They lost to Bell North. I think they had a couple of send-offs, Weston, and so it was a pretty disastrous on their behalf. But the controversy didn't stop there. Bell North, instead of actually creeping into fourth spot like they thought they did, because they were ahead of UC on points per game because they played a game less than UC. Well, so the story goes. This is all very anecdotal. UC ended up going through with one single point more and playing a game more. So they didn't go on points per game. They just went on total points. So Bell North thinking that they got into fourth spot, but they didn't end up getting in there. So that was 2 weeks ago. ANU league champions, Weston in second, Gungahlin, Juventus into third, and UC then taking fourth spot. They played the semi-finals on Saturday. I went out and watched a bit of both the games. Weston beat Gungahlin Juventus 2-0. A much closer game than the scoreline suggests. Josh Wade, the goalkeeper from Weston, really probably kept single-handedly or single-footly a couple of times, kept them in the match. And in the other match, it was even more crazy. UC were winning that game, I think, 2-1 with about 5 minutes left. Then they scored an own goal, and then ANU scored to win that game 3-2. So the top two, ANU Weston, will be meeting in the final. So it should be very interesting. But in terms of promotion relegation, no one's quite sure what that means, as ANU and Weston are both already in CPL, and so Juventus was kind of the only team, but coming third, it would be a bit of a surprise if they pushed through with promotion from third spot.
So that's still to be that's still up in the air at the moment. I'm sure we'll have something on that before we wrap up the podcast for the year. Let's get straight into the CPL action, shall we? Tuggeranong United winning the league title after this result. 1-1 draw to the Brindabella Blues. Dean Tomeski scored the opening goal of the matchup 59 minutes into the contest. This was Tomeski's first goal for Mitch Stevens' side as he joined from Queanbeyan City in the mid-season transfer window. Brindabella Blues fought back to equalise through target man Curtis Schaefer. 5 minutes later, the Brindies needed to settle for a draw despite making that comeback. This means that the Brindies are now 3 points off the top four in sixth place with 2 matches remaining in the season. So heaps to play for there for the Brindies. Dean Tomeski's 64th minute goal was a historic one for Tuggeranong as it gained them promotion back into the NPL for next season, as well as being crowned league champions. Congratulations to Mitch Stevens' side, Mitch Stevens, Stan Mitchell, and all the Tuggeranong boys on this achievement. This sort of, they sort of put aside their relegation last season. Obviously after, being relegated despite technically, mathematically still being in the comp due to COVID, and put that aside, just focus on the task at hand and put on several terrific performances to take them straight back to NPL. So, Webby, at the start of the season, Tuggeranong were one of your favourites to go up, and it was definitely well-deserved, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. As I probably said in the pre-season, I thought it would be a really tight race between Tuggeranong and ANU, but ANU have really shown that form the last few weeks, but definitely not consistently enough through the season. But Tuggeranong have been very, very good and consistent. Are they the best team I've seen in this competition? Probably not, but they're up there. But their consistency has been very good. And sometimes when they've been on, they've been exceptionally good. Their front line is it's fantastic. And the free-flowing football that they can play and their high press that they can play, it's very impressive at times. So, look, very, very deserved. And it's great for the club. I'm just trying to rack my brain. I'm not sure if it's the last time, but I remember, I think it was back, and it's a long time when I was playing in '98. I think Tuggeranong got relegated, and it was a very storied team that stuck together and went down. And in '99, the likes of Scott Conlon and his brother Mark and some of these guys who played that division down and got them promoted instantaneously a year later and back up. So, those guys are kind of legends around that club. But this team to do it again, get relegated, bounce straight back up within the year, I think that these guys will also kind of go down in the club history as, it's been very impressive, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with them next year.
And quickly before we move on, in terms of the Brindis, find themselves 3 points off the top four with only 2 matches remaining. What do you make of the Brindis in the last couple of matches?
Yeah, look, I saw them last week against Weston, and it was a very tough game. It was very even game. They ended up winning that in the last minute with a definite penalty, but they got pushed the whole way. But the effort that those young guys put in was really good. They kind of had that top 4 spot concrete for a little bit. They let it slip, but they're just getting themselves back into the right shape coming to finals. I think if you look at the fixture lists, they've got Wagga, who are 3 points ahead of them, and Yoogali at home. So they're definitely 2 very winnable games for them. And we probably get into this, Wagga and White Eagles, who are around them, have much harder fixtures. So I'd almost say Brindy, and I don't want to put the kiss of death on them, are probably
you've done that this season. Let's not forget that.
Probably, exactly. So I apologise to the Brindy guys, but they're probably who I have favourites to nab that 4th spot from here.
Yeah, next up we had White Eagles up against Queanbeyan City in one of the more sort of storied CPL fixtures, certainly for a number of years now. And Queanbeyan came away with a 2-0 victory in this game, courtesy of Mensa scoring a double in the second half. The informed veteran forward, he opened the scoring in the 66th minute there, and then he made it 2-0 12 minutes later with his second goal off the game, capping off some great form that he's been in over the last sort of recent weeks. So that's a very positive sign for Queanbeyan City, especially sort of heading towards this final part of the season. Eagles, they weren't able to back up their 2-0 midweek victory over Brindis with a win here against, like I was saying before, against one of their sort of storied rivals in Queanbeyan City. But before this loss, they had won 2 consecutive matches in a row, so they had built up a little bit of momentum. Before they were shut out in this one by Queanbeyan. Queanbeyan, they still remain in 3rd place, 1 point behind ANU and 8 points behind Tuggeranong, who, like you discussed earlier, have clinched promotion, which means hopes of promotion for a club like Queanbeyan is now sort of evaporated into thin air. And, the same goes for ANU as well. That was briefly sort of touched on. But, it's all about sort of building momentum for finals football now for Queanbeyan and, try to take back 2nd place. And they've just got to keep sort of moving forward in that way with having that sort of in the back of their minds going forward. On the flip side of it, the loss means for White Eagles, they missed out on, an opportunity to jump into the top 4 on the weekend. So that will sort of shot their confidence a little bit, knowing they had that opportunity to sort of get themselves back into the top 4. So currently, as things stand, they're 1 point behind 4th place Wagga and 2 points ahead of 6th place Brindis. So I mean, it's all very sort of tight in terms of the total points there for the clubs in and around that sort of top 4. And, over the next few weeks, I mean, it's going to come down to the absolute wire. I mean, we were talking about that, Matt, when we were discussing the NPL as well. And it's for Queanbeyan, it's more or less, like I mentioned before, they've just got to have that sort of main focus of just trying to do the best that they can now, knowing that whilst they don't have promotion, as an achievable sort of goal now, they've got finals football to play, and they've just got to solely focus on that. And for Eagles, I mean, it's going to come down to the absolute wire for them to try and sneak into the top four. And Matt, you mentioned that. Oh no, sorry, I think it was Webby that mentioned that their run home will be a little bit harder compared to those clubs sort of around them to finish off the season. But Webby, what did you make of this result, sort of for Queanbeyan? And in particular, you have Michael Mensah scoring, a double, and it seems as though he's been in some sort of really good form over the past sort of few weeks. So, I mean, overall, a good result for Queanbeyan in this highly anticipated matchup.
Yeah, look, we talk about this one. It's a big derby game, and form goes out the window. I think White Eagles will be very, very disappointed with the result. As you kind of said, they're on a little bit of a mini run, and that win would have put them into the top four, 2 points ahead, and they just kind of would have then looked to just consolidate and hold on. But instead, really, Queanbeyan have actually now closed that, stayed in that race with ANU, and they're definitely pushing now for second spot, which is, a coveted spot. I think Queanbeyan have been very, very consistent. I think that, as you kind of said, they'll be a little disappointed with how the season's panned out when they were really at one stage pushing Tuggeranong. They led the very start of the season, and we're still pushing Tuggeranong kind of come midway through the season, but they really let that slip. But they're finding form in the right time, and definitely coming into this final series. ANU have got a lot of form. Tuggeranong, on the other hand, have only picked up a point in the last two matches, so it's not the best form for them going into finals. I don't know how much they really care about finals. They got the promotion, but I know a club like Queanbeyan definitely will. And so, look, I'm not sure. I haven't done the maths on the table, but whether that's guaranteed Queanbeyan now into a semi-final spot. But I dare say whether the maths is there, and pretty much just has locked them in anyway. And as we said, it's put Tuggeranong now. It's put White Eagles now in a pretty tough position. Their last two games, pretty sure, are the top two, ANU and Tuggeranong. So it's going to be pretty hard for White Eagles to, pick up probably the 4 points that they would need to get themselves into finals. So it's going to be tough for White Eagles. But they're essentially, as I kind of talk about, really the standard bearer of this league. So if anyone could kind of make a late dash, White Eagles can do it.
Absolutely. Matt, who have we got next up?
And Queanbeyan are like 8 points ahead of Wagga, who are in fourth. So they're mathematically definitely in a final spot there. Webby. Next up, we have ANU 1-0 victory over Wagga City Wanderers. ANU scored the only goal of the match near the end of the game as a free kick was put into the box, and Jan Warnia got on the end of it and buried it. You could see it on their Instagram page. The elation and the celebration was quite telling, as this streak of form extends to 7 wins, and everyone off the bench went to go celebrate. They still remain in second place, 1 point above Queanbeyan. Promotion, like we mentioned, is no longer on the table, as Tuggies claim the honours with ANU's victory over them last week, meaning they had to wait another week. This fantastic run of form from ANU, not to take anything away from this great form, but it makes you think, if they hit this form earlier, what could have been in terms of them for that promotion race. Regardless, though, well done to Talal Safar and his side. They've really put a good run of form here over the last 7 games, and even before that as well. So nice momentum for them heading into the finals. Wagga, on the other hand, suffered their second consecutive loss, as they lost just before full time The Riverina side still remain in fourth place, 1 point above White Eagles and 3 above the Brindis, meaning that fourth spot will be tightly contested in the next 2 games. Wagga have Tuggies next up. They'll be decently confident heading into that one as well, knowing that the last time they played Tuggies, they did come out 4-3 winners. So that should be an interesting matchup there. Webby, thoughts on this one? And I think we touched on it in terms of ANU and their form in that regard, the 7 wins.
Yeah. Look, I saw the goal, Jan's goal. Yeah, I think it was the 89th minute, and it was fitting because ANU was celebrating their 60th anniversary, and that was the kind of the gala day. So they would have been disappointed if they didn't come away with the win. So Jan kind of kept the crowd happy. Like you said, great work from Talau to turn this team around. And as you said, if they could have found this form early on, it would have been a different story. 7 wins means they've beaten everyone in the competition in succession. So that's pretty impressive in itself and great form coming into finals. For Wagga, again, someone who would be disappointed. They were kind of almost concrete in third spot 4 weeks ago, but have had some very interesting results in the last 4 games, getting beaten heavily by Weston and then an absolute smashing against Yoogali and then losing the next 2. So all of a sudden, from being concrete into third, they're now well and truly in a dogfight for that 4th spot. So whether they can hold on, as I said, I've already put the kiss of death on Brindy to take that spot and think Wagga might just let it slip. But we'll see. And it's going to be interesting. And I think for Wagga, they'll be very, very disappointed if they don't hold on to that top 4 spot.
Yeah, next up, we've got Yoogali up against Western Molonglo. It was a 3-1 win for Yoogali in this one, courtesy of Donadell, Vitucci, and Piva scoring for the hosts and Hollis scoring for the away side in this game. Yoogali, they blitzed, in the first half. They scored all 3 of their goals in the first half. And, in hindsight, virtually completing the contest, in the first half. Donadell opened the scoring in the 12th minute. Vitucci scored on the 30-minute mark, and then Piva scored sort of 2 minutes just before halftime in the 43rd minute. So that sort of just really set Yoogali on their way, having that 3-0 advantage in the first half. The victory has ended a 4-match, losing streak for Yoogali in that one. So, as they look to finish the season strongly as possible over the next 2 games, I think that will do them a world of good that they were able to sort of get themselves out of this rut that they had found themselves in terms of just not being able to get the results. And, in this match, they were able to get the win. So they'll be looking to use that now and finish the season strong. Like I said, only 2 games left. So you sort of want to go out on your shield and really sort of perform up until the end of the season. Weston were, coming into this trip with some good form. They picked up their first points, in a win, and then they had a draw. And last week, they put in a solid effort with a narrow 2-1 loss to the Brindis. So it sort of just goes to show how far Weston have come from the start of the season to sort of the performances that they've been able to put together over the past sort of 3 weeks. The Magpies, they were able to start the second half in a strong way by scoring the opening, goal sort of like 2 minutes after the restart through Hollis. And, despite that goal, though, they just weren't able to make, that comeback. And I think the sort of first half performance cost them in that way. But I guess that they can really take positives out of that second 45 minutes to, score a goal early and not ship any more goals for the remainder sort of that game. Webby, what do you make of this result for Yoogali and for Weston as well, from their sort of perspective, with 2 games to go for both of these teams?
Yeah, look, I can talk to you for a long time about this game because I was out there, and to be honest, and it's no disrespect, it was one of the poorest quality games I've seen in a while. And I would say, really, to no disrespect for either team, because it wasn't either team's fault. The conditions were tough. The pitch is in very bad nick, but it was actually quite hot out there. I think it was 22 degrees out there, which I don't think either the Yoogali or the Canberra guys were used to weather like that. So it was very slow game and on a very, very bumpy pitch. Weston trying to play out too much from the back on a pitch that was not suited to that, and Yoogali were very good at picking them off in the first half. Weston started the game with 9 fresh players. You know, it was obviously travelling pretty light, but that was actually more than Yoogali at home. They actually started, I think, with 7 fresh players and 4 guys backing up from 23s. Weston only had 2 guys backing up from 23s. One of them, Mason Donadell, played, I'm pretty sure, 180 minutes across the 2 games, and just absolutely impressive. I'm fairly sure he didn't come off in the 23s game and then started again and scored the first goal, and it was a cracking goal, great finish. So some amazing efforts from some of the younger guys in that Yoogali team in the heat to play 100, 150 minutes. So, yeah, really, really very impressive from that behalf. While the football wasn't great, the effort, especially from some of those Yoogali boys, really, really impressive. Look, was always going to be tough for Weston, travelling light, but as I said, Yoogali are just as light. What that actually means for Yoogali for the last 2 games, I think they've got to travel next week. So I'm just not so sure they were so light at playing at home. I just wonder how they're going to be on the road. But look, they'll be very, very happy that they've stopped that losing streak and kind of got back into it. Unfortunately for them, they can't catch Brindabella, so they're stuck in second last, and Weston now is stuck in last. So, you know, those 2 teams are kind of locked in where they are. So it'll be interesting to see how they both kind of play out the rest of the season, the last 2 games, and, you know, whether they try and blood a few younger guys through. I think both teams have been blooding younger guys through all season, not by choice. So, yeah, they'll just both have to carry on. But, yeah, look, it was a good game, played in very good spirits, and look, Yoogali were deserving winners.
Matt, what are our round 20 fixtures for CPL coming up?
Our round 20 fixtures, we start with Wagga City Wanderers hosting Tuggeranong United Saturday, September 3rd, 2:15 p.m. at Gissing Oval. Brindabella Blues against Yoogali. Saturday, September 3rd, 3 p.m. at Ipen Park in Corwell. Queanbeyan City versus Western Molonglo. Saturday, September 3rd, 3 p.m. at High Street. And ANU versus White Eagles. Saturday, September 3rd, 3:15 p.m. at ANU South Oval. Before we sign off, Webby, do any of those matches stand out to you? There's quite a lot to play for, actually, most of these matches.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's really, you know, like I said, Weston and Yoogali don't have too much to play for, and probably neither do Tuggeranong in that regard. But everybody else has either a top 4 or a top 2 position that they're battling for. So really, the one that stands out to me probably is that ANU White Eagles game. I think that there's a lot riding on that on multiple fronts. So that will be a very interesting one.
That certainly is. Any last words, Michael, before we sign off?
No, I mean, look, there are some really good clashes sort of coming up this weekend that are going to certainly draw a lot of attention from, you know, fans all over sort of Canberra that sort of pay attention to CPL football and what's been going on. And we've already discussed at length numerous times throughout this episode, but there's a lot riding on sort of positions in and around that top 4. So, I mean, the stakes, you know, are high. The intensity is going to be at an all-time level, you know, with these teams trying to, you know, get themselves in the top 4 and hoping and relying on other results to go their way as well. So I think over the next sort of week or so, you're going to see some really, really competitive games with a lot on the line. So looking forward to it.
And Webby, thanks for joining us. Any last words today besides the disappointment of Newcastle drawing 2 Wolves?
Disappointed. I was very happy with that draw, to be honest. we need St. Max to score a worldie to get us.
Yeah, that was a great goal. That was a great goal.
That was a great goal. Yeah.
I was definitely happy at the end of that game. No, and look, really just good luck to the teams in the next 2 rounds, but then especially getting into finals and back to the state ones. Yeah, good luck to ANU and Weston. That'll actually be a cracking game. That game. So if you don't want to get out to a Capital Premier League game, get out to that State League 1 final on Saturday.
Indeed. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. That was episode 65 of the Canberra Football Show. Everything's hotting up as we enter the last 2 rounds of the season. Have a great day, everybody.